Hello and welcome to Mindful Living, where we explore the art of living with the intention, balance, and inner peace. I am Avik, your host, guiding you through conversations on health, meditation, mental well being, mindfulness, and the mind body connection. Each episode features expert insights to help you grow, heal, and thrive. So, take a deep breath, relax, and join us on this journey to a more mindful and fulfilling life. So, let's get started.
Hello and welcome, listeners, to the Mindful Living Podcast, where we explore ways to cultivate a healthy, fulfilling living through mindfulness and personal growth. I'm your host, Sana, and today we are joined by a remarkable guest, John Brink. John was born in Nazi occupied Holland during World War II and grew up facing unimaginable challenges. Despite these early hardships, he emigrated to Canada in 1965 with just $25.47 in his pocket and went on to build Brink Forest Products, North America's leading secondary manufacturer of value added wood products. At 83, John remains the CEO of multiple companies, an author, and the host of On The Brink Podcast. He's also a passionate advocate for breaking the stigma around ADHD and living a full, active life well into the later stages. And today on the Mindful Living Podcast, we'll dive into John's incredible story, his journey, and also discuss about longevity, healthy living, and thriving in the later stages of life. So, John, it's an absolute honor to have you with us today, and welcome to the show.
Thanks, Sana. I look forward to it.
So, John, you have lived through an extraordinary journey from war-torn Holland to becoming a successful entrepreneur in Canada. How have these life experiences shaped your approach to healthy living and longevity?
Yeah, so as you already indicated, I was born November the 1st, 1940. So I'll be 84 in a couple of weeks from now and November the 1st. So that was during the war years. In particular, the war started in early 1940.
Yeah.
And, it was tough on my family. My dad, my mom and dad were married in 1938, and they were very, very happy. They were looking forward to a life full of excitement and fun, and they very quickly had one boy and then a girl. My dad had a good career, so they had a beautiful place to live in, not their own, but they were renting it. It was paradise for them. And then in April of 1940, everything changed to never be the same again. So my dad was drafted into the Dutch army. And the last they heard from him is when the last they saw him was in the bombing of Rotterdam. And for 5 years, they wouldn't know if he was dead or alive. And so my mom then was pregnant with me. I was born November the 1st, and she had 3 little kids and had to then find a way of surviving. And everybody around her had the same issues and the same problems. So you were pretty much on your own. And then the Germans took over and kept Holland, captive for the next 5 years in a dictatorship with head of Hitler, who was ruthless and reckless in terms of what he did to the population. Obviously, we all know about all the Jewish people that were captured and sent to concentration camps, never to return. And then, but also other able bodies that could work were captured and put into camps where they had to work. And the other thing that I remember as a little child, at about 3.5 years old, was Allied bombers overhead, hundreds of them, 300, 400 planes. And I was born in northeastern Holland, within 10 minutes of the German border. And in the winter or the 1944-45 was a hunger summer and then winter because the Germans had cut off all the food supply. So I remember going with my brother, my sister every morning with gunny sacks in the railroad yard, pick up anything edible and burnable. And then the Canadian Army came, liberated us on April the 12th, 1945. It made such an impression on me that I always knew from that point forward I would emigrate to the land of my heroes, Canada. I tried to go when I was 17. My parents wouldn't let me then. I was drafted into the Dutch Air Force, and I then did, as you already said, I left for Canada when I was 23 in 1965. And that's where I am today.
Wow.
With a dream to come to Canada, but start with nothing. I had really no money. I wanted to start from the ground up and landed in Montreal, took the train across Canada. My God, that's a long way. 4 days, 5 nights. Ended up in Vancouver, British Columbia, but that's because I wanted to build a lumber mill. That was my dream. And came off the train, couldn't speak the language, didn't know a soul, didn't have a job. But I had about very little money and went to the immigration office. There was a German fellow. I could speak some German. I told him I wanted to build a lumber mill. So he said, go to Prince George. That's where I live today. It's 500 miles north of Vancouver, or 800 kilometers for our friends in Europe. And, so that's where I am today. And when I came off the bus, I had my suitcase, 3 books, 2 sets of clothes, and I counted my money. I had $25.47. And so started as a cleanup man and then gradually built up. And then fairly in the first year, I became a supervisor of a big sawmill and then superintendent. Then I became an owner of a small mill, manager with an option to buy. And I did that for about 5 years. And then I started my own company, Brink Forest Products. That is now the Brink Group of companies. And there's a whole lot of other companies. So that's kind of the story. Yeah.
It is. And if I would like to say, we often so on Mindful Living podcast, we often talk about expressing gratitude for what we have today. Because from your journey, I'm just wondering, with starting an entire new life in a new country from scratch. During those times of annihilation, it's a heck of a journey. And thank you so much, sir, for sharing this with all of our listeners. It's really, really empowering. Great. And another fact is you are 83 years old. You are still actively involved in multiple businesses and personal pursuits. What do you believe is the key to maintaining that energy, focus, and passion as we age, as at the time when we think about simply retiring and just enjoying the blissful life?
Yes, Sana, that is correct. I'm nearly 84. In the next couple of weeks, I will be 84. And there are always periods in life when you kind of think, I have to be more careful with my diet, exercise. And so when I was 58 years old, I had a case of what they call diverticulitis, where there is a rupture in your colon. And that is kind of unique. Pain in your colon is not uncommon. When it hurts on the right side, it's usually I always think in touch. Your one issue, but on the left side is your colon, and so so that's kind of. I had to go to the hospital. They took it out. They amputated, or they took about 12 inches, 20 centimeters out of my colon, and actually on the right side is appendicitis, they call it, and on the left side would be colon. And you usually change your diet, but then in some cases it ruptures. That happened to me, and you have to get operated. If you don't, it can kill you. So it got me to the hospital just in time. I nearly died because of it, and so it gave me a message that I have to be more careful about diet and then at the same time exercise. And so that's what I did. Before that, I did just like everybody else does. Every year end, we talk about what do we do next year? We do this, that, and the other thing. And at the end, we said we want to buy a membership to a gym.
Yeah.
And then 2 weeks later, we can find 100 reasons why we can't go to the gym anymore. So
Yeah.
I knew I had to change that. And so my wife is a vegetarian. I didn't listen all that well to her up to that point, but then I started to pay more attention to it. So I became very, very careful with my diet, mainly plant-based diet. And then the other thing that I did is I got a trainer in the gym, and I started going to the gym on at least 3, 4, 5 times a week. And so that changed my life really, and my diet became primarily plant-based from that point forward. Still is today. And then I've been 15 years going to the gym, so I'm in good shape. Now, your guests cannot see me physically, but I'm going to show you a picture of me in my book, Living Young, Getting Old. That is me. I'm the oldest
Unbelievable.
bodybuilder in North America.
Lovely, lovely.
So, and then, so what I believe in, age is just a number. I believe in quality of life. And so I'm still very, very active. And, the old age to me means nothing. I want to be 120. And so I'm going to stay healthy. I go to the gym and I watch for my diet. And at the same time, I'm going to enjoy it. I got lots of energy. Positive attitude to me is important. Passion, whatever I do, I give it 125%. And work ethic is important to me. So I get up every morning at 5:30, and I always make my bed, and I always think I'm late, and I enjoy it. So that's what I do. And quality of life to me is more important, and age is just a number.
Yeah, that is true in this case. Absolutely. Well proven, John. Lovely. So, you are passionate about mental health and especially concerning the effects of PTSD and ADHD. So, how
Right.
have you managed these challenges throughout your life, and how do you prioritize mental well being in your daily routine?
So obviously, growing up during the war years saw far too much that we should not have seen. And so that it still stayed with me, still up to today with PTSD. The other part, there was always a fear of losing the only parent that we had, because my dad, it was not until after the war when he came back. He survived, but was underground. And so we were just with my mom, and that was all we had. So there was a fear of losing her. So they called that the inner child. The inner child stayed with me until I got counseling, actually in my 50s. Very emotional, and but very, very important. So and then the other part that you already mentioned, much later in life, actually, up to the time that I was 62, I was diagnosed with ADHD and dyslexia. So, and I wrote a book about that as well.
Great. That's really great. And how do you balance success in business with maintaining personal health, family life, and also a sense of purpose?
Yeah. So for the very young life forward, when I was 5 and we were liberated by the Canadian Army, my dream was to go to the land of my heroes, Canada. I did that. My grandfather was a master carpenter, and my dad worked in lumber. And had I was not successful academically. I failed grade 3, and I failed grade 7 3 times. And so they said, what are we going to do with this guy? Do we send him to the mentally disturbed school, or should we get him do something else? And my parents said, no, we're not going to do that. We'll get him a a job of some sort. And so I liked lumber. So they sent me to a furniture factory to
Mm-hmm.
become a furniture maker in the evening. So that stayed all with me. But I always felt that I was different than everybody else around me. And your friends in school can be sometimes unforgiving
Yeah.
that, so I went to the factory working as a laborer when I was 13. And so my friends went on to college and university, and I became a laborer. I'm proud of that today, but then it was different.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew I was no less than them, not better either. So when I came to Canada, my dream was to go to Canada and to build a lumber mill, and I
Mm-hmm.
did that, and quite a number of them actually, and then another 10 companies beside that. And so, but it took me till I was 62 that I was diagnosed with ADHD. So from the time that I was 13 till the time I was 62, nearly 50 years, I was wondering, who am I? And so it was only then that I discovered who I was. And it kind of changed my life from that point forward. When the age of 62, I became an author. I've written 4 books, working on 2 other ones, and then obviously have a number of companies, still more companies. I'm very active podcaster, top 1% globally. I've done close to 500 podcasts, 350 where I'm a host, and then 150 where I'm guest. And and we're working on a platform, that's going to get off the ground in the next couple of months.
Lovely, lovely. That is wonderful. So, and for those listeners who may be entering the later stages of life and listening to this episode, and they're looking for guidance on how to thrive, not just survive, what mindset shifts or practices would you recommend to promote longevity and fulfillment?
I'm not a doc, obviously. I'm just doing what I do. You
Uh-huh.
know, is important in life is mental health, and do something positive. Have a positive attitude. So my foundation is attitude, passion, work ethic, but will follow is success. So mentally be strong, enjoy what you have, look around you, and count how fortunate you are. And then the other part is sunshine is very, very important.
Yes.
Sleep is very important. Sleep 7, 8, 9 hours a
Yeah.
day is very important. Diet, very critical. Stay away from the processed foods because you don't know what is in it.
Yeah.
And if I go to the store, I do all the shopping for my wife even. She's a vegetarian. I shop on the outside of the store,
Uh,
inside on the outside where the vegetables are,
uh,
organic and all of those things. And then I go to the gym regularly. But what I say to people in general, don't drink, don't smoke, don't do drugs, stay healthy, fit. And then the other part is keep your body active. You don't have to become a bodybuilder or an Olympian. I'm not saying that, but simply start with going for walks. And
mm,
then the more you do that, then it doesn't take very long and you start enjoying it. And then the next thing that happens is somebody says to you, hey, Sana, you look good. What did you do? You lost weight. You look so healthy. And you say, I'm doing something right here. And so then you're well on the way.
yeah.
And then healthy diet is a given. Your body, and again, I'm not a doc, but your body is extremely forgiving. It wants to be healthy. Don't
Yes.
give it chemicals. Don't stay fit, stay healthy, do all those things because your body extremely forgiving. And but it will only take so much abuse. And then, as you said, in the latter part of life, if you say that to me, that would mean after 100.
Yeah.
And so, it's just a number. And if you follow even the most basic ideas of staying fit and healthy, then you will see the results. Sunshine, sleep, diet, physical exercise.
Lovely, lovely, John. So, if our listeners want to connect with you, get some inspiration, and also access to your books, your podcast, how they can do that?
So I have a website is John, John, A as in Aaron or Adam, Brink, BRINK.com. John A, middle name, Brink, BRINK.com. And that's where all my information is, my podcast, my books, and all the things that I do.
Great. We'll have all the details mentioned in the show notes for our listeners. And John, thank you so much for sharing your journey, your incredible insights, wisdom, and experiences with us today. And your story, it's a true testament to resilience, passion, and the power of will of having a healthy living at any age. So thank you so much for gracing us with your presence today.
Thank you, Sana. It was a pleasure to be a guest on your show. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you. And for our listeners who want to learn more about John's work or connect with him, be sure to check out the show notes along with this episode on your favorite podcast platform. And thank you to everyone for tuning in to Mindful Living. If you found today's conversation as inspiring as I did, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. Let us know how we are doing. And until next time, I'm Sana. Stay mindful, stay active, and continue living your best life, no matter your age.
Exactly.